Hello and welcome to the Tennis Podcast, live from Wimbledon on day 11 of the Championships, the day when our women's singles final was set. Jasmine Paolini against Barbora Krejcikova. Delighted to report that myself, Catherine Whittaker, Matt Roberts, David Law are back in the dry weather position. Less delighted to report what a truly terrible decision that is turning out to be, because despite the best weather radars in town telling us that there was a 13% chance of rain, this is what is looming behind us right now. For anybody listening as a podcast, it's just an enormous black threatening cloud, and it does not look good for our prospects over the next hour. So for everybody that was with us for shows last year and enjoyed our shit the microphones moment, you could be in for a treat tonight, folks.
Yep, we've had to borrow an emergency umbrella from a very kind security guard over there. He's got another one. We haven't left him without an umbrella.
He's got a parasol.
He's
I'm
fine.
absolutely
Honestly.
not worried about him. I'm very much worried about us and the various bits of tech that are keeping our show on the road. But look, we've made our decision, and we're going to live and die by it.
Yeah, we're ready for whatever comes.
Absolutely. Matt's got his jacket, his waterproof jacket.
I think we're going to find out how waterproof it is.
Yeah, Matt decided to debut his Wimbledon collection cardigan today, thinking
Finally not raining, can bring out the cardigan.
yeah, the wind's just got up, hasn't it?
Yep.
In a very pre-storm kind of a way. This could be a rocky ride, folks. I'm kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
To be fair though, I am practicing what I preach, because there's a threat of rain, but we're still outdoors.
Because this is an outdoor tournament.
Outdoor tournament.
You could have pressed the wet weather position like we did
Yep.
the last 5 days, being an indoor podcast, but no.
Matt would rather a mid-show interruption than to preemptively move to the wet weather position.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine, folks. It is going to be absolutely fine. What a day we've had. It's hard to believe how it's turning out, because it was a day of absolutely glorious sunshine and absolutely glorious tennis inside centre court. Two just spectacular women's singles semi-finals. Krejcikova beating Rybakina 3-6, 6-3, 6-4. Paolini beating Donna Vekic 2-6, 6-4, 7-6, 10-8 in the match tiebreak in 2 hours and 51 minutes. And it is with that match that I want to start, because it's one of the best matches I've ever seen at Wimbledon. It was absolutely gorgeous. Other than cliche alert, the fact that someone had to lose it, it was the perfect tennis match for me.
Yes, I think it was, because it had drama, it had emotion, it had two very different types of tennis player, which I think is just a key factor, really, in terms of this sort of hello. There's a wasp landed on my lovely bottle. Well, it is nice, and
Just don't make it angry.
it's
and
from
we're
the
fine.
Wimbledon shop. Anyway,
David's using a wasp to promo our sponsors. That is what a pivot.
but
Maybe it'll sting one of us in a minute.
I actually think that Jasmine Paolini can make any match good. I think she's just one of those tennis players. She's got firepower from the baseline. She comes to the net. She's an incredible mover. She gives you vibes. She makes you feel all sorts of stuff when you're watching her. She's just wonderful. And she was up against a player who's playing the best 1-2 punch combination tennis that she's ever played in her life. And she's been a pro for 12 years, and she's got herself to the brink of victory, or pretty near, and hasn't won. So it's heartbreaking for her. There's a lot to unpack there, but I think it all made for ingredients as a tennis match and as a big semi-final that you can't really get better than that. I agree with you.
Sorry, I'm so distracted by this wasp. Where's Lance Davis when you need him?
Guys, we've got an awesome semi-final to try and do
Sorry.
justice to here, and Matt is distracted by an unthreatening wasp.
Yes.
Come on, Matt.
Look, incredible tennis match. It had stakes, it had drama, it had intensity, it had quality. I think you can't you can't help but be completely won over by Jasmine Paolini. She won over everyone on centre court if they didn't already know her today. But also you couldn't help but feel gutted for Donna Vekic as well. Like, they were both experiencing the match in such different ways. Like, Donna Vekic, you could see the stress and the pain. You know, she spoke of large amounts of pain that she had in her arm during the latter half of this match. You could see it on her face. Whereas Jasmine Paolini kind of looked like she was having the time of her life, because she always does on the tennis court. She just brings that joy, and it's just interesting how, you know, two people playing the same match can give you such a different experience. But yeah, like, you know, I think we need to go through the match in detail to really get into it. But overall takeaway was that was an absolutely incredible match. I think the longest women's semi-final in Wimbledon history, and it wasn't just long, it was high quality and dramatic, and I loved every moment of it, but I was also way too tense to actually properly be enjoying it. I was so tight for like all of it.
It didn't have lulls, did it? Long matches usually have lulls. This was intense right the way through. Do you need us to deal with the wasp before we do get into the details of the match?
Depends what you just thought of my answer just then. If you thought that was good enough, then I can crack on. If you don't,
people are noticing your eyes darting left.
They were earlier, but I think I'm all right now.
Okay.
But you've just brought it up again.
I mean, I think the wasp has just seen Jude and thought, actually, it looks quite fun being on the table for the show. So maybe we need to name the wasp.
Okay, let's go chronologically with this match.
Jasmine.
Donna Vekic, have you ever seen her play a better set than she played in that first set?
Honestly, no, I don't think so. She was absolutely awesome. All the components that we thought she would need to get right against Paolini, she got right. You know, she came out, and David, you messaged the WhatsApp group within seconds saying, "Oh, this is a great start for Donna Vekic," and you could tell that she was, you know, in true tennis player fashion, hitting the ball well. Like, it was just coming into her strike zone, and she was teeing off. And you know, we spoke about how she needed to try and get on top of Paolini's second serve. She won over 70% of the points on the Paolini second serve in that first set. There was backhand down the lines, which were an absolute revelation, and she had a combo going of her serve and her forehand, a pattern of play that was so effective, so efficient, and yeah, she just absolutely dominated that first set. Paolini was struggling to live with the pace and the power and the brilliance, really. Like, just an awesome first set, especially for someone playing in their first Grand Slam semi-final. And
I also thought as well, what interested me, and the reason I wrote that is because when we were an hour before play, we were with Coach Pam Shriver in the media restaurant, and
Having pre-match pizza,
and she was talking us through what their priorities were, and the three big things. Number one was exactly what you were talking about last night, which is you got to go after that Jasmine Paolini second serve and crush the thing, and that is what Vekic did. And I just feel like it really simplifies matters for a player like Vekic to not have to think, what's my tactic today? There was no second guessing. It was just go for that second serve, even if you miss some. And Paolini also, as the match wore on, did a good job of kind of realising that's what's coming and preparing herself straight after the serve for that shot. The second thing that Pam said is that having been out onto the centre court, they'd been given special dispensation to go out onto the court and experience a practice. Pam hadn't been there for goodness knows how long on centre court, was to practice the lob. And she landed a lob in the first set, which just really turned things. And then the third thing was from a Pam perspective, and the team was, we can't react. No matter what Donna does, no matter what she says, no matter what her facial expressions are telling us, we've got to be stony-faced and just impervious to it, really. And they kept that up. And I mean, so I kind of feel like Donna did everything she was supposed to. And that just tells you how good Paolini is at scrapping and playing and finding a way.
So what changed in the second set?
Well, I think Paolini's level improved. You know, I don't think that was Paolini's best first set. I I felt like maybe, as David said, she started to figure out ways to get used to the Vekic power. I think she stepped back in the court a fair bit. But really, it was nip and tuck. Vekic had break points at 1-all and at 2-all. She also had to save break points herself at 1-2. There were lots of chances for both at the start. But Palini, I said to you while we were watching this, Catherine, Palini now has big player aura.
Big time.
Yeah.
When Vekic wasn't taking those break points, I thought, that's going to come back to hurt you, because that's what big players do. They don't let you get away with that. And you could feel that Paolini might have a surge, and she kind of did right at the end of that set. I do think there was a big turning point, which was a smash that Donna Vekic missed in the 4-all game. Paolini did some incredible scrambling to even get in a position where Vekic had to hit the smash, but Vekic should have made it, and that would have helped her potentially get the break, but she didn't break, and then she served the next game and played a really poor game with a double fault and got broken, and that was the set. So I think, it was still felt to me like it was kind of on Vekic's terms that they were playing in that second set, but Paolini definitely did a really good job of just applying pressure and keeping the scoreboard tight, and eventually it kind of told at the end of that second set. And then Vekic went off court for one of her resets, and post-reset Vekic is turning out to be quite a player.
She did have several extraordinary resets in this match. I
Yeah.
still believe in post-reset Vekic.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just think sort of 2024 Paolini is a stronger force even than post-reset Donna Vekic. She twice had a break in that deciding
Yeah.
set, did Vekic. Did she lose it, or did Paolini win it, or is that far too simplistic a
I would
way
say
to
so.
frame the match?
I would not characterise anything I saw out there as a choke. Nothing.
No.
Equally, I don't think she was comprehensively outplayed. So she was pressured, and it was a couple of points here and there. So I think that there'll be some tough moments, I'm sure, for Donna Vekic on her own in the dark at night, thinking about being a breakup twice with a serve like hers and a forehand like hers on grass and not winning. And it wasn't, we haven't even reached the tie break yet. And there were also several moments where she just dug herself out of match point holes. But I mean, one of the stat that popped up on the TV screen that I did think helps to communicate the reason for the turnaround is the average forehand speed of Donna Vekic between the 3 sets. And it started out first set at 80 miles an hour, I think it was. It dropped, I can't exactly remember how much, probably 5 or 6 miles an hour in the second set. In the third set, it's down to 69. So that's a big difference. And you can see her powering down and having to kind of fight this force of fatigue, I guess, and also
And an arm
injury.
injury.
and pain, yeah. And
Significant pain in her arm.
She's often throughout that third set wrapping her arm quietly, forearm, in an ice towel. They're focusing up on because she wears these long sleeves, and they're focusing on the long sleeves and trying to pick out, it seemed, some sort of strapping on the arm as well. I haven't spoken to Pam about that, so I don't know about it, but it seems it felt like there was a problem, and then Vekic confirmed that afterwards, didn't she?
Yeah, and I was amazed that the level stayed as high as it did in those closing stages, considering the pain we know that Vekic was in, and considering just the general stakes and drama of that situation. In terms of little moments of regret for Vekic, I do think when she went up a break for the second time in that third set, she was up 4-3. She then lost 9 points in a row, and they were quick. It was suddenly she was overhitting, and it just slightly got away from her in that moment. And actually, when she was then serving at 4-5, I thought she was going to lose serve. She did an incredible job to stop that run of points. She saved a match point in that game. And then she had to save another match point serving to take it to a tie-break, and she did it with the most incredible forehand down the line at the end of a really long rally. And just she was sort of appealing for the crowd for a bit more noise. I think the crowd were with Paolini mostly in this match, but at that moment I think Vekic was appealing for the crowd to get involved, and they did, and she kind of applauded them. Pam was on her feet in the box. It was a real moment. And then she was in the lead in the tie-break, Vekic. She kind of nip and tuck, but Vekic was ahead, and she was up 8-7. And returning, Paolini hit a 66-mile-an-hour second serve, and Vekic, I'd be interested to talk to Pam about it, but Vekic backed off, and she had been stepping in kind of the whole match, and she backed off, and it just allowed Paolini to then get her forehand into play and hit the in behind. And it was just that moment where I did think, it wasn't a choke. It was by no means a choke, but I did just think, if only she'd sort of stepped in and maybe gone for that return. But in a match of that length, there's always going to be little moments like that, I'm sure. But generally as well, huge credit to Paolini for fighting back from 2 breaks down, for keeping up her intensity, and then for coming through that tie-break. She was magnificent.
She was. Matt and I watched this match from the press box, from the press seats, which are a spectacular view of the court. They really do treat us well here. David, you were watching most of it from the 5 Live commentary box, which is right at court level, which is incredible. But Matt and I didn't have access to a monitor of any kind, so we weren't seeing close-ups of the players' faces. It wasn't until we actually came back to our desks after the match that I suddenly saw a load of stuff online about how upset Donna Vekic had looked throughout large parts of the match, and the tears and everything. I hadn't really been aware of that while we were watching, because you don't see the play. I could see that she was having a stressful time. Obviously, wasn't everyone, but I didn't really realise the extent of it. And I've since seen an awful lot of chat about Donna Vekic's demeanour on the court and her tears and everything, and she said in press that I was crying because I was in pain.
Yeah.
And I've just seen so much stuff about kind of, what a difficult watch Donna Vekic is because she's so emotional. She looks like she's not enjoying it out there. And I know there was a tremendous contrast to Jasmine Paolini today, who's just this bundle of joyous energy, isn't she? And it's kind of hard for anyone to match that. But a lot of what I hear just makes me think of just how bloody difficult it is for a woman to be perfectly palatable. You've got to emote, but not too much, and
who you are,
and not the wrong kind of emoting. You've got to smile, but not be smug or overconfident or like you're unfocused. You've got to be confident but not threatening, attractive but not intimidating. It's impossible. Basically what I'm doing is butchering America Ferrera's speech from the end of the Barbie movie, which if you haven't seen, and I know that applies to you, David, you absolutely must. But yeah, I just made me think of all of that.
It does frustrate me. I was seeing some of it, and I, as you say, I was doing the second set from the commentary box. The third set I actually watched from our production room on BBC Radio, where I could listen to the radio commentary but also see the big screen and see all the close-ups. And look, there is a stark contrast between the two because they are very different human beings, and both are absolutely fine. That's the bottom line. Just leave them alone to be who they are and stop judging them, because anybody who actually watches Donna Vekic week in, week out, and I watch her a lot, that's how she looks. That's her I'm trying my backside off face. All right? There's nothing wrong with that. And Jasmine Paolini has a different face. Elena Rybakina is constantly getting told, nothing affects her. Well, she's been very clear. I'm in turmoil inside. This is my face. This is how I look. This is how I play. And it's fine. So let's just crack on.
Having said all that, I did bloody love Jasmine Paolini's celebration.
Oh.
It was
amazing.
I've just been downloading photos of it actually to use later, and My goodness me, are they good photos. That sort of aeroplane running, just totally in the moment celebration. She has reached back-to-back Grand Slam finals. The first woman the first woman to reach the French and Wimbledon finals in the same year since Serena Williams in 2016.
And honestly, that stat gets madder if you branch it out to include players, women who've done that in the Open era, back-to-back Roland Garros and Wimbledon finals in the same year. Listen to this list of names: Billie Jean King, Margaret Court, Yvonne Goolagong, Chris Evert, Olga Morozova, Martina Navratilova, Steffi Graf, Monica Seles, Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, Martina Hingis, Venus Williams, Serena Williams, Justine Henin, and Jasmine Paolini. That is like a who's who of tennis greats.
And it's such a big data sample that that's not an accident being on that list.
Yeah. It's I really am guilty of just kind of assuming that Roland Garros was going to be the pinnacle for Jasmine Paolini. I was so invested in her run there, and it was brilliant, but honestly I left that tournament thinking, I think we've probably seen the best of Jasmine Paolini, and I feel a bit of a fool really, because it wasn't just that tournament. She'd been building all the time. I think we can probably still be very surprised that she's doing this on grass, considering her lack of wins on this surface at a main draw tour level coming into this year. It is still just incredible, but mostly it's just how she's backed that up and just become that Roland Garros finalist. She owns that position now, and as I said, she's got that kind of big player aura about her. You expect her to start doing improbable things that great players do, and yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And she combines these great results with, as you say, this charisma that just sort of makes everyone in the crowd happy, and people are kind of enchanted by her. I think players whose sort of heart holds their fate on the tennis court are naturally get you pulling for them, and she's right at the top of that list. She is awesome.
And I know we have a bit going with David and his big Jasmine Paolini dismissal of 12 months ago, and it is extremely funny.
It was on this table.
Don't get me wrong. David Law picking Jasmine Paolini, plucking her out of an infinite list of names as an example of a good draw at Wimbledon, 12 months on, is extremely funny. However, David, the cavalry is coming, because prior to this year, and she's reached fourth round of Australia and now back-to-back finals, she could end up being a champion here. Prior to this year, she was 27 years old and had never been beyond round 2 of a slam. She'd been pro for 10 years and never been beyond round 2 of a slam.
That's the bigger curiosity to me now. Now that I know what I know, now that what I've seen, now that I've seen what I've seen, somebody who looks so complete. She's got firepower off both wings. She moves incredibly well. Yes, the second serve feels attackable, but lots of players' second serves are attackable. She's doing it on clay and grass. There's no reason why she won't do it on hard court. She's already won Dubai, so we know she can. So why the hell hasn't she before? That is the bigger question mark. Now, she's explained it. Belief, confidence, of course. I totally understand that. But the bottom line is she's so much more than I had any clue that she was. And I mean, look, I did go in her press conference after the match, and I asked a very self-serving question to her. I said, Jasmine,
help me clear my name.
If I asked you a year ago, or if I said to you a year ago, you're going to be, this time next year, a Roland Garros finalist, runner-up, and you'll be in the final of Wimbledon, what would you have said? She said, I would have said you were crazy.
Validation from the woman
Jasmine,
herself.
thank you. I just about avoided saying thank you. But no, I mean, look, that's where I was coming from. I was absolutely wrong. And I'm really thrilled that I was wrong, because she has enriched the sport of tennis in the last 6 months, six or 8 months, and in the last 6 weeks, she's been one of the very, very best stories. Maybe the best story in tennis, in terms of just joy that she's brought and giving a completely new angle to look at it at and through. And I love watching her.
I went back earlier and tried to find some YouTube footage of her matches pre this year to try and figure out what looked different. And
good luck with those highlight packages.
Yeah, so I ended up deep in the pandemic, which was a
God.
bit of a downer. So I didn't dwell. I do intend to do some more research, but I watched a match between her and Simona Halep in Rome 2020.
I think I commentated on
Which
that.
was in September.
Yeah, it looked awful. It looked absolutely... It was bleak, yeah. It was on
after the US
Pietrangeli, nobody in the stands, cold, dark, dreadful.
Great.
But...
What did you discover?
Well, it all looked the same. Which, of course it does. Like, she's not coming into press and saying, I'm suddenly a Grand Slam finalist because I've totally changed my forehand, or because I'm several metres per second faster than I was before. I think she looks a little bit stronger in the leg area. That sort of really tough, balanced, wide base.
Yeah.
Well, not wide because she's tiny, but you know what I mean.
She's got a low centre of gravity, hasn't
Yes,
she? She
but-
gets really down
But
low.
with the strength and sturdiness to go with it, that was one thing I noticed. But basically, the game all looks the same, and it made me think of Daniil Medvedev when I asked him the other day in press, like, what's different about the Yannick Sinner that's beaten you the last 5 times to the one that used to be your pigeon? And he said, well, he just misses less. Like, it's all the same. He's doing all the same stuff. He's just better at it now. And I'm sure there's more sophisticated analysis to be had. And I will go back and try and find some more YouTube videos. Hopefully not from the pandemic, because that was tough. But yeah, I mean, it's even more remarkable that she's turned her whole career around in this most extraordinary way without doing anything massive. It's just marginal gains, isn't it? I know that's boring, but it's dreaming step by step.
Exactly. And I think belief, it's obviously something you can't identify it, but you can feel it. Like, she needed belief to win this match today. A set down and being totally outplayed. Like, how does she get back into this match without belief? I think she won this match today because of the matches she's won in the past, year, really. Post good draw Paolini, like, ever since then she's built up this belief, and she plays with it. Like, I think she has a real confidence now that her game is going to be enough to hurt whoever she's playing. Like, she's beaten so many different types of players as well in these last 6 weeks over this Paris Wimbledon run. Like, yeah, it's an incredible, like, it's a transformation, even if
Totally.
it doesn't look like one.
She is a marvel.
Yeah.
You nailed it a few days ago. Breaking news from Chris Evert on the ESPN coverage, which
I thought you were going to say it in the chat.
No, well, actually, the breaking news in the chat is that it's raining in Tooting, which is less than 2 miles down the road. That is the sadistic sound of cameraman Matthew laughing that you can hear. We're all in this together, Matthew.
Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Didn't need to tell us that.
Yeah, so things could be about to get fun. No, the breaking news was that I was listening to some Chrissy Evert commentary on ESPN earlier, and she had seen in the player bios that Jasmine Paolini was listed at 5'4", and Chrissy Evert thought, absolutely not. So she demanded a side-by-side with Jasmine Paolini. She stood next to her and she said, I'm here to tell you, that woman is 5'3".
That's what you did to Hugo Gaston at the French Open, but he doesn't know it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I jogged to catch up with him in a corridor so that we could estimate Hugo Gaston's height
I
relative
stood next
to
to him
mine.
and all I could see was the top of his head like everybody else.
So there you go, 6 foot No, 5'3" Jasmine Paolini, a French Open and Wimbledon finalist, maybe more. She will face Barbora Krejcikova in Saturday's final. Krejcikova beating Rybakina 3-6, 6-3, 6-4. She now has a 3-0 record against Elena Rybakina. Rybakina, dare I say, has a Krejcikova problem.
Yeah, well, the evidence would suggest so. She didn't look like it in the first set.
It took her 8 games to hold serve.
Krejcikova.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look,
Wow.
I suppose the signs were there. Like, Krejcikova did break Rybakina twice in that first set, and breaking Rybakina is a hard thing to do. So there was a little sign that, like, Krejcikova, if she could take care of her own serve, could have some success in this match. But 19 winners to 3 in that first set in Rybakina's favour, and she was just rushing Krejcikova. She looked really comfortable, only serving 53%, but breaking all the time. That it wasn't a problem, and it felt like it was going to be a straight sets win for Rybakina, quite frankly. But then Krejcikova did what she does and got her teeth into the match and started holding and applying pressure, and I thought did a great job of handling Rybakina's pace a lot better. She started getting Rybakina moving a little bit, putting a bit less pace on her own ball, and keeping up that intensity, that incredible intensity that we saw in the quarterfinal against Ostapenko. She brought that again, podging all over the court and pumping her fists and roaring, and she outwinned Rybakina in that set 14-9. She did a great job tactically of disrupting, and then in the final set, like, nip and tuck 3-all, and then Rybakina missed a forehand swing volley while serving at 3-all, and that just gave Krejcikova the impetus, and she came up with a lovely pass to get to break point, and then there was a bit of a drop shot fail from Rybakina, and that was the break. And by this point, Krejcikova was back to serving how she had against Ostapenko, and she closed it out so confidently. Not a flicker that she was going to lose serve in that final game. Just a brilliant hold. And yeah, I think we've kind of all assumed that, I certainly have, that healthy Rybakina would win this, that it's on her racket. But I think Krejcikova did a phenomenal job of disrupting that and breaking that narrative, because I think Rybakina was fine sort of physically today. It was the tennis that won it for Krejcikova, and incredible performance.
For anyone confused about what a podge is, it's come on in Czech, and all Czech players have said it throughout history, but I associate it most with Petra Kvitova, particularly here at Wimbledon. She was just awesome today, David, and particularly so, exactly as Matt said, given how impossible it looked for her to win the match in the first set. Not that it was kind of one-sided in terms of scoreline, but she just looked so impotent in the face of Rybakina's power. She looked like she just couldn't handle it at all. And
at the start it was one-sided on the scoreboard, and it would have been very easy to panic at that point. And I always think of Rybakina as this great front runner, that when she's got her range, how on earth do you stop her? And there was no panic on Krejcikova. There was no sort of, it's a plane, not a thunderstorm.
It's going to be a thunderstorm.
It does feel a bit. Anyway, she dug in. She actually reminded us why and how she won the French Open, and it was so nice to see her back, really. And I mean, look, I'm a sucker for her interviews on court when she talks about Jana Novotná, and because she's always reminded me of her anyway, in terms of the way she plays and the way she she shows you what she's going through in her own way. And Jana Novotná so sadly, tragically died a couple of years ago, and she was coaching Barbora Krejcikova when Krejcikova had no singles ranking and just couldn't get into the tournament. She was a great doubles player, and she talked about how she was stuck. She was this brilliant world number one doubles player who couldn't get into the singles draw of any of the tournaments she was playing doubles in. And so how do you work it out? And she went to Jana Novotna's house and said, please coach me, please teach me, guide me to so I can figure this out. And that's what Jana did. And she said, I think about her all the time, and she's a real inspiration to me when I'm out on the court. And she had to take us a few seconds to try to compose herself because of the emotion. And it's lovely seeing somebody get to the final of Wimbledon. And I think we should reflect on Donna probably before we finish about her prospects. Somebody that you think probably isn't going to do it, who then does it. And obviously we've got Jasmine Paolini is a different kind of example, but I would never have expected Krejcikova to get to this final in her career. I wouldn't.
I agree there are parallels, but is it not a slight difference that Krejcikova has won a slam?
Yes, it is. It is. And I actually also think the fact that she has had such incredible doubles success is significant. She's used to being around at the end of tournaments and winning match points for big titles. Okay, doubles isn't the same as singles, but I do think it's significant. And when you want to get over the line in something that's the ultimate, at least you've got that experience, that you know that tension, and you also know how to sort of pace yourself for 2 weeks. So I don't think it's the same, and I think, but the way things have been going for Krejcikova, back problem, ill health, all these things, not really a factor in 18 months in many ways. I wasn't expecting this, and I think it's cool.
She's only reached 3 Grand Slam quarterfinals since that run to the title at the French Open 2021. Can you remember how you felt about Krejcikova's prospects from that point onwards when she won the 2021 French Open? Like, would 3 Grand Slam quarterfinals in 3 years have surprised you?
I think in the immediate aftermath of a Grand Slam win, like, very often you're like, oh, yeah, this is the player now, and they're going to do, they're going to win more. I think
there's definitely a podcast out there where I predicted Elena Ostapenko world domination, and there's no need for anyone to go back and listen to it.
But I think that does honestly sound to me about right. I think this is the surprise. I wouldn't have had her winning another slam. She hasn't won this one yet. She's got the force of Jasmine Paolini in the final, but the fact that she's even in the final to me is a massive surprise. Like, she had been, like, obviously it was a huge surprise when she won that French Open. She had been building a little bit. Like, her singles had got a lot better. I think she did really well in the Middle East that year. Like, she was a player that we kind of had on our radar. Honestly, I didn't have Krejcikova on my radar at all coming into Wimbledon this year,
no,
given what David's just talked about, given even like the trouble she's been having in doubles, like that partnership with Siniakova ending. I think they're going to play together at the Olympics, but like she wasn't even having the same success there. She was injured. I think isn't she down around 30 in the world, something like that.
Lost first round in Paris. So none of the signs were really there that this was going to be the one. And actually, I do remember walking past her court that she was playing on in the very first round, and I think I walked past it at 5-all in the third against Veronika Kudermetova. She ended up winning that, coming through her first round. She was then break down in both sets against Katie Volinets in the second round. Like, she was kind of hanging on in those first few rounds, but she's grown into this tournament, and honestly, the last 2 matches is the best tennis I've seen her play for years. I mean, probably since that French Open, to be honest. Like, just didn't see it coming at all. So to go back to your question, I think to me, after she won Roland Garros, she felt like the sort of player who would probably be, occasionally reaching the second week of slams, maybe have another run, but I really didn't see her reaching another final. And I've probably underestimated her. Like, that quote she gave about wanting to turn it into a big 4, like, she's kind of showing that level-wise, when she's fit, she is there. Like, she's got this record over Rybakina. I think she's beaten Swiatek in a couple of finals, like final Swiatek, kind of the best version of her. And now she's reached a second Grand Slam final. Like, she might end up with 2, which would be
more than Goff's currently on, more than Rybakina's currently on. Like, 2 takes her into a kind of new category, I suppose, and that I did not see coming at all. And yeah, I'm so impressed.
It's Dubai champions from the last 2 years facing off. I was reminded, we all remember Paolini's run to the title in Dubai, because it was this year and it was her biggest breakthrough to date at that point. But I was reminded, looking up her record earlier, that Krejcikova won the title last year, beating the world numbers 1, 2 and 3 along the way. She shows up against the biggest players. Yeah,
she's a real disruptor. She's a problem for them. She's got a type of game that is a bit different. The angle of the ball's coming out, the trajectory of it often skids through, and lovely flowing backhand, and also somebody who's not afraid to come to the net, because she's such a prodigious doubles player. She's used to it. And they don't see her all the time, because she comes and goes. You don't always know when she's going to be good. And it is fascinating, and I think she probably. I probably did expect more from her, but then you can't bargain without good health, can you? For a start.
Would you like to sit in the rain and get to know Barbora Krejcikova just a little bit better?
Sure.
I mean, we're already doing half of that.
Some of that. Yeah.
Matthew has erected his umbrella, so the equipment's safe.
Yep.
We press on.
He's all right.
She in a rain delay. I think it was a rain delay. Krejcikova did an Ask Me Anything on Twitter the other day, and things we learned about her. She loves trains. Big fan of public transport is Barbora Krejcikova.
Never been on Southern Rail, clearly.
Preach. She said somewhere that she hasn't been to, but would like to go, Alaska, to see the bears.
Great.
Favourite foods, steak and sushi, lemon sorbet for dessert. She doesn't like coffee. She makes a mean blueberry cake. She doesn't like milk, including in tea, which sort of implies she drinks black tea, which makes her a maniac.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, I've been to a lot of countries in Europe, and obviously my wife's Croatian, so I go there. They do not understand why we have milk in tea.
But
Nobody understands it. And they have fruit teas and herbal teas and all these sort of things.
No one's putting milk in a fruit or a herbal tea.
No, sure, but that's what they drink.
I'm
They don't
talking English breakfast tea,
but
David.
no, they don't drink English breakfast tea.
Well, that's fine. But if you are drinking English breakfast tea, it needs to have milk in it. Is my point.
She hasn't said that she is.
It could be a lost in translation.
It could be, yeah. Okay. Jury's out on whether or not she's a maniac. I'll keep you posted. Pineapple on pizza is a yes.
Ooh.
Oh no, she
Did
says
get a lot of hate
she
for
says
that?
the jury's out on that.
My wife's family can't understand pineapple on pizza.
What more do you need to know
either.
about pineapple on pizza?
Doesn't work.
Her dream sandwich, folks, and she says she spent a lot of time thinking about this. Brown bread, chicken, bacon, cheese, lettuce, cranberry sauce, salt and pepper, all toasted. The toasting is very important, she says. I hate cold sandwiches.
Wow.
Haven't we all learned something about Barbora?
I like the fact that she knows what she likes.
Me too. Yeah. Absolutely. Is fully raining now. That's your update. It looks like Mordor above us. Lovely stuff. Matthew's had to...
Oh my word. I wish I hadn't looked.
Matthew's had to turn up the heat on the lights. So let's talk about tomorrow's order of play. It is the 2 men's singles semi-finals, of course. We start with Daniil Medvedev against Carlos Alcaraz, and that is followed by Lorenzo Musetti against Novak Djokovic. Can anyone foresee any upsets here? And to be clear, I categorise an upset as wins for Daniil Medvedev or Lorenzo Musetti.
I do not foresee an upset.
What do you foresee?
I foresee. I mean, I'll decide the number of sets in the newsletter, but I think comprehensive victories for both Alcaraz and for Djokovic.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, Alcaraz Medvedev's a repeat, isn't it, of last year, and that was comprehensive for Alcaraz. He has been dropping sets, though. Like, he has been having those little dips, those lulls in matches, and gathering himself and playing spectacular tennis.
It's gone. Doesn't like the rain, the wasp. Sorry, carry on.
So I feel like Medvedev, with the tactical adjustments he showed against Sinner, I expect him to try and incorporate some of those against Alcaraz as well. But I think Alcaraz is a big favourite there, given the matchup generally. And I'd probably go 4, but it could be 3. And then Musetti, Djokovic. Look, we were full of praise for everything Lorenzo Musetti did yesterday, but Djokovic is winning that, I think. There was slight reports that when Djokovic's name got mentioned in Musetti's interview on court, that there was a boo. I'm not even sure that necessarily it was. I've sort of lost.
I think honestly,
I've sort of lost track of what a boo is now.
It was like 2 people who were just thinking, "Oh, here's our chance, boo!" You know.
Yeah, it was. It's the same people that shout "Come on, Tim."
Yeah,
still.
exactly.
But I genuinely think that those people might be in the crowd tomorrow.
Oh, I think. Look, I think Djokovic has opened a door for people to heckle him for fun.
Right.
Like to get their voice on telly and to be heard and to maybe be a factor in what happens and to wind up Novak Djokovic. I think that could definitely happen. You know.
And do you think it will wind him up?
Yeah, I do. I do think it will wind him up. Yeah.
But not enough
in a way that fuels him, or a way that makes him
my
worse.
hat.
Yeah,
I was just about to put that on.
Yeah, no.
You can have your jacket. David's having a Rishi Sunak moment.
Fortunately, I don't care. But I think that.
Sorry, David.
Look, I think there's enough evidence. There's enough evidence that for podcasters, there's Catherine and Matt are currently crowding underneath an umbrella while I brave it in the throwing down rain. I think there is a good 15 years worth of evidence that Novak Djokovic doesn't give a stuff what happens out there. Like, it'll bother him in the moment, but he'll then go and play even better and win. So I fully expect that would happen. But, it'll add to the fun, won't it?
Yeah, should we wrap up?
Just like this rain is adding to my fun right now.
I'm going to reiterate, 13% chance of rain, according to reputable weather radars.
First day of the tournament that I didn't bring my big umbrella or my coat.
Tim Hemman is standing over there undercover, laughing at us.
Yeah.
It's great.
Come on, Tim. No shout-outs today. I had to close my laptop.
Yeah, folks, we'd better get this show off the road. If you'd like to get yourself a Wimbledon umbrella, they're available from the shop, both on site and online.
Just remember to bring them with you.
I can vouch for their sturdiness.
Yes.
Because this is quite some rain we've got now, and they're really standing up to the task. So, if you are coming to Wimbledon, don't forget your umbrella. We'll be back tomorrow, folks, hoping to make better decisions about where to set up and where to do the show, and generally just hoping for better fortune. But as with today, the tennis will never let us down, will it? Oh dear! Wow. Okay, folks, thank you for listening. I need mascots. Maverick.
Never lets us down.
The dearly departed Darwin.
Yeah.
Hyder and Soma. Francis.
Yeah.
Billie Jean, sponsored by Billie Jean King and Ilana Kloss. Our
top folks
and executive producers. Jamie, Jeff,
Greg and
Chris. Thank you to everybody. Shout outs are back tomorrow. Hopefully we are as well. See you then.
Shit the microphones.